and you're being recorded.
Hi, so my name is Maddie Welch. I am the Career Center Specialist, and I am joined by my colleague Teresa Swake, who is the director of our Career Center. And like Mrs. Comer said, we're going to be discussing the different options that families have to finance and pay for college, because we do understand that it can be a really overwhelming and kind of looming question that often makes it seem like college is unattainable. But by the end of this presentation, we really want to make it clear that there are so many options, and we don't want financial reasoning to be the sole determiner that makes you decide you don't want to pursue a certain school. So first of all, when looking into your college options, we don't want the main thing that you're focusing on to be the cost. We really want you to incorporate questions that focus on the best fit for you. So we recommend kind of treating this like a boss interviewing job applicants. So we want you to think about, what are your must-have criterias? What is important to you when finding a college? Is it the location? Is it diversity? Is it a certain major? Now is the time to kind of sit down and really make a list of what's important for you. What are your non-negotiables? And then you can kind of rank different options that you have going forward that you can then incorporate cost of that college as well. So at least a general idea of the fields of study that you find most interesting, such as liberal arts. And if you guys aren't familiar with the term liberal arts, that's more, I guess you could call it like psychology falls under there. There are a lot of really great examples, but we just want you to think about what's important to you, really make those non-negotiable lists, and then kind of rank those before you even start this search.
This is tricky with only one computer. So sorry. Okay, so financial aid statistics. So when it comes to choosing affordable colleges, cost is important, but it should not be the only thing that's important, because there are so many other factors that play into it. So if you look at a school, if you Google, like, I don't know, Stanford, and it's $80,000 a year, that's not the price you're going to pay. Maybe at Stanford you might, but at other schools you won't necessarily. Cost of attendance. So things you need to consider when we're looking at these is the cost of attendance of a school is just one of the factors that impacts what a student's going to pay or borrow to enroll. And schools offer you financial packages. They're going to offer you financial assistance to help you cover all the cost of your education expenses, including tuition, fees, room, board, books, all the things that you need to cover. And so when you get those packages, there's actually some websites that help you to compare the financial and make sure you're comparing apples to apples instead of apples to bananas. And when they send you a financial aid, that does not commit you to that school. It's just their first offer. So when you are considering schools and you're looking at financial options and things, think of it as buying a car. The price that's on the car is not necessarily the price you're going to pay. There is room for negotiation. There is room for a second offer, or you asking for more or asking for different things. It's just like buying a car. And until you sign on that dotted line, just like buying that car, nothing is carved in stone. So do not feel like you are going to be stuck with that just because they gave you something and you asked about it. Is this still me? I can't even tell which ones are mine anymore. So for instance, yeah, all financial statistics. So we looked at some schools and we wanted to share some financial statistics with you around those schools so that you had a better understanding of what we're talking about when we say what they charge is not necessarily what you're going to pay. So Linfield University here in Oregon is a great school. It's a private school that is over in McMinnville. Tuition at that school and room, board, and fees for a year is about $61,000. First-year students receiving some form of financial aid that actually go to Linfield. About 96% of those first-year students are offered some kind of financial aid. The students receiving Pell Grants, and we're going to talk a lot more about grants and the individual kind of packages that you get or the individual offers you're going to get. But a Pell Grant, about just under 27% of their students get a Pell Grant. And Pell Grants mean that your income is such that you show financial need through what your family financial contribution should be. You show enough need that Pell Grant is one of the things that's offered to you. The average financial aid package through Linfield is about $31,621. That aid package can include loans. So that's important to know that that $31,000 can partially be loans. Now let's compare that to Columbia University in New York City. So Columbia University in New York City was actually ranked #1 in the country for their ability to provide their students packages where they are graduating with as little student debt as possible. So Columbia's tuition, room, board, and fees in the 2019-2000 school year was all of it together $79,752, which is an overwhelming amount of money to look at. I mean, you think 4 years, holy cow, that's almost $320,000. And at the same time, the average financial aid package for students, first year students at Columbia University, was $55,521. And again, I know people are gasping because it's like, oh, you just told us these include loans. This is an average financial package for students with need where there are no loans involved. This is all money you can use towards your education that you do not have to pay any of that back. So they're offering their students essentially tuition and fees for free. And if you think of it in terms of the price that you're going to pay, you can live on campus, eat on campus. So your average living expenses are going to be about $22,200 a year. So you get to live in New York City for $22,200 a year, attend Columbia University, and you're not going to have to pay any of that back unless you borrow for your living expenses. Undergraduates, students that receive gift packages, there is 99% of all their students who had have financial need received full financial need, or 99% of their students with financial need had all of their financial need met, which is right around 3,000 students were able to receive financial aid in some form. Okay, and now we're going to compare that to state schools in Oregon. So I know a lot of people came into this thinking, okay, they're really going to push state schools. We're not pushing state schools, and this is why. These are two of our 11 public schools in the state of Oregon. Average cost at OSU, this includes, again, everything, the tuition, fees, room, board is just under $28,000 a year. The average financial aid package for a first-year student there is between 50 to 55% of the tuition. That means that you are going to pay more than $13,960 a year to attend this school. Of the aid that they packages that they provide you, those will probably include loans. So you are borrowing money plus paying $14,000 a year towards your education. The same is true of University of Oregon. It's a little less expensive per year. The aid packages that they provide is 40 to 50% of the tuition. And since this is an overall cost, you're going to pay over $13,320 a year. And they definitely include some loans. They may not be big loans, but they're going to be loans.
Perfect. So now we kind of want to talk about the different types of financial aid that are available to everyone, because there are a lot and it can be kind of overwhelming. So we want you guys to know that everyone can access some form of financial assistance for college. So financial aid means that this is money that the government, both federal and state, and or other organizations such as your college or university or private institutions are giving or lending you so that you can pay for college. And so with financial aid, a lot of students who can't afford the full cost of college are then able to actually earn their degree.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Crazy. Overlapping.
I'll keep going.
It's making me nuts. Okay. Let me do it.
And as you can see from some of the stats that Mrs. Swake just mentioned, most full-time college students are receiving some sort of financial aid. And so the main types of aid that you're going to hear about are probably going to be grants, scholarships, loans, and work study, which we will cover in depth right after this slide. But there's also aid for really specific populations of people. So there might be aid specifically designated for military families, for international study. For instance, if you want to go and pursue college somewhere in Europe, there is aid specifically designated for that. And then there are public and private loans. There are so many different pockets that we can be pulling from that we want you to be aware of, and kind of how they might fit your specific needs. So going forward, we're going to go in more in depth as to what these different pockets are.
Oh, I'm not muted. Okay. And you know, aid can come from several places. It not only comes from federal government, it'll also come from your state that you're attending from, and schools and the colleges also have their own little pockets of financial aid that they offer to students. This is you, Miss Maddie.
Sorry, this is me. So to start off this aid, in order to get financial aid, you have to apply for it. And so this is where the FAFSA and the ORSA comes in, which is something that you've probably heard a lot about. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And this is specifically for United States citizens and eligible non-citizens. So if you're a US citizen or a particular eligible non-citizen, you will be filling out the FAFSA. And this is a form, it's an application that you have to fill out if you want any financial aid from the federal government to pay for college. And a lot of states and colleges, like we mentioned, also use the FAFSA to determine which students get financial aid and how much aid they will be getting. And so when you're filling out the FAFSA, it's going to be asking you for information about you and your family's income, your family's finances, tax returns. And so this is something that you're going to need your parents' help to fill out. So just kind of keep that in mind going forward. But we also want to keep in mind the FAFSA is free. That first F stands for free. So this is something that you don't have to pay anyone to help you fill out. No one has to prepare this for you. This is an application that is non-binding. It just is opening up opportunities for different forms of assistance for college. And every single year, millions of dollars in federal aid are left on the table by students who don't file a FAFSA. So like I said earlier, if you don't file, you're not going to qualify. But another really important aspect is, federal grants and federal money aside, a lot of merit-based scholarships and work study programs also require the FAFSA so they can help determine what your level of need may be. So it's a really, really important catch-all, and it opens on October 1st every year. So October of your senior year is going to be when that's coming out. And also keep in mind that some forms of aid through the FAFSA are first come, first serve. So you really want to get on it as early as you possibly can. On the flip side, there's also the ORSA, which is the Oregon Student Aid Application. And this is going to be for undocumented students, or if you're a DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or temporary protected status. So if you fall under one of those categories, you're not going to be filing the FAFSA, you'll be filing the ORSA. And this can help get money for college through grants, scholarships, tuition reduction in a very similar way. And if you're not sure which one you qualify for or which one to file, just ask us, and we can definitely point you in the right direction. We can get you in contact with some really great resources, and we can just help you figure out which one is appropriate for whatever situation you may be in.
And if you're not planning to attend an Oregon school, because the ORSA is only for Oregon schools, again, those wonderful resources that Maddie was mentioning, they can help you find similar aid applications for the state that you're interested in attending those schools.
Yeah, so on this slide.
Or did I say that too? I did. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, just to reiterate, filing the ORSA does not mean that you have to attend college in Oregon. So if that's something that you're interested in pursuing school outside of Oregon and you file the ORSA, just let us know and we'll help you out.
Okay, now me. All right, so grants. So grants are my favorite part of the financial aid from the federal government because you don't have to write an essay for these, but it is money that you don't ever have to pay back. So grants are a form of financial aid that doesn't have to be repaid. There are a variety of them. I had a fourth one in here, but I took it off because I found out it was only for grad students. So the Pell Grant was the first one. We're going to share this slide deck with Ms. Comer, and she can push it out to all of you, or Ms. Comer can share it with you as soon as she's ready to or able to. All of these have little links that it will give you, like a definition, and it's the link to the federal student aid. So it gives you the federal definition of them. So that's why they all have the little hyperlinks on them. But a Pell Grant is a grant that is very specific for families who show their family contribution is low. The Pell Grants can range in, oh goodness, I can't see my notes. It can range in value from, I think, $600 to, Maddie, can you see the words below it? What's the range for the Pell Grant?
Oh, I can't see the notes. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I think it ranges from $600 to just over $6,000. The average Pell Grant is about $4,300 a year for students. I do know that if your expected family contribution on your FAFSA, which does not mean that you are earning next to nothing, it just means that based on your income taxes, the number of dependents you have in your home, and other aspects of this, if your expected family contribution is close to zero, you are going to receive Pell Grants. If you receive a Pell Grant, you will also receive a federal supplementary education opportunity grant. These two go hand in hand. If you qualify for the Pell, you automatically get this one. This one ranges in value from $100 to $4,000. And in Oregon, the average FSEOG is about $700, just under $700. There is one other grant that we wanted to make people aware of. It is the Iraq-Afghanistan service grants. So if you had a parent or have a parent who served in Iraq or Afghanistan and died as a result of their military service in one of those countries post 9/11, you are eligible for grants and a lot of the criteria. So that's the only criteria above these other ones. This is a grant that is more substantial than the Pell or the FSEOG grant. The same rules apply beyond the Iraq-Afghanistan service grant. There's the closer you are to having a zero estimated family contribution, the more money you're going to get, but you can get money even if your family contribution is significantly higher, simply because our government wants to thank your family for your service and their service and your loss.
All right. So another form of free aid is going to be scholarships, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the concept. But similar to grants, these are also gift aid. So this is money that you do not have to pay back. And so scholarships can come from a lot of different places. They can come from the government, they can come from colleges, they can come from private organizations and nonprofit organizations. There are a ridiculous amount of scholarships that are available to students. And so they can be awarded for things such as academic ability, athletic ability, interest in a certain subject, volunteer work you've done. Sometimes it's really as oddly as specific as you have red hair and you write a quick essay. There's scholarships available for that as well. So, the tiniest little niche that you can think of, there's probably money available for it. It's just a matter of hunting it down, which can be so overwhelming. Similar to financial aid, there's a lot of just scholarship money that is left on the table every year because people aren't applying for it. So we want to be a resource for you to help you find those, scholarship opportunities. So some things to keep in mind are OSAC, or the Office of Student Access and Completion, which also has a link to that. This is a really great resource for finding scholarships. It's going to have a huge database where you fill out one application and you see if you qualify for so many different scholarships. So kind of start poking around. You can make an account. You can just kind of see what's available to you. But like I mentioned also, you know, there's money opportunities for if you are your first in family or the first generation student to go to college. If you're undocumented, there's money specifically for that. And different institutions are also going to have scholarships specifically for their students. So Oregon State, University of Oregon, any school out there is going to have their own scholarship opportunities just for their students. So talk to us. We want to help you find those because they are everywhere. And as overwhelming as it is, we want to help you.
And if you are starting to tune us out already because it's like, oh, my GPA isn't high enough. I was helping a student today do scholarship searches with a GPA. We were using the criteria scholarships for students with GPA between 2.1 and 2.5 and male. And we got about 1,500 hits. So there are literally scholarships for everyone. Okay, so the Federal Work Study Program. This is another form of aid that you are eligible for or can be eligible for through the FAFSA, as long as the school that you are applying to is part of the Federal Work Study Program. This is a part-time job. It is a part-time job that your school is helping you find and set you up with. So while you're enrolled in school, you are eligible for this. Some of it is community service work related to students' course studies is highly encouraged. So if you're in a department, well, I'll just say, for instance, I received financial or federal work study when I was in college, and I was a math major. So some of you know I'm a math teacher. I was a math major. So one of my jobs was in the math department. Another one of my jobs was in the registrar's office in the financial aid office. That's why I actually learned some of this stuff. But I had friends that worked in like the cafeteria, different places. So the school will help you find a job to interview for. You do have to interview it. You still have to get the job. The money that you earn is yours. You do not need to repay this money. Typically, unless you are working a summer job where you are making a boatload of money, this is not going to be enough income for you to push you into having to file income taxes based on this. The nicest part about the Federal Work Study Program is at the beginning of each term or right before the term starts, take your schedule to your employer and say, this is what classes I'm taking. This is when I'm taking them. These are the days and times I'm available. And part of their agreement is, as best they can, they will work around your schedule to make the time that you work not interfere with your class time. And I will tell you, as long as you are doing what you're supposed to as far as work goes, they are amazing, because every single term I was in college, I took finals week off, and I never had an employer get upset with me.
So one particular grant and opportunity that we wanted to go into detail for is the Oregon Promise Grant. So this is a state grant that helps cover tuition costs at any Oregon community college for recent high school graduates. So if you're thinking that you're going to be attending Portland Community College, Clackamas Community College, a community college within Oregon, look into this opportunity, because this is a really great financial aid package for students in the state of Oregon. There are some stipulations. I won't go too nitty gritty just because it's not super exciting and I'm sure we're losing a lot of interest. But you do have to attend an Oregon community college. You do have to have a 2.5 GPA. And there are some stipulations as to how long it takes you to graduate from community college and also when you start. So if you are graduating in June, you do have to start school by the following fall. If you're not graduating in June and you're interested in this, let us know and we'll help you figure out when some of those deadlines are. But the Oregon Promise Grant awards range from about $1,000 to $4,000 per year for full-time students. And this is one that you access through the OSAC portal, the Oregon Student Access and Completion portal that we mentioned earlier. And you also have to file the FAFSA or the ORSA to be eligible for this grant. So this is a really awesome opportunity that I encourage you guys to check out if you're interested in community college going forward.
So the last thing we want to talk to you about before we open this up for questions is fee waivers. So Maddie and I were talking about fees, and there are fees associated with everything. The standardized tests, the college applications. I mean, pick something, there's a fee associated with it. We have some fee waivers available in our school. If you are eligible for free and reduced lunch, or you are eligible for a fee waiver for like the SATs or the ACTs, you are automatically eligible for fee waivers for colleges. And not every single college will take them, but most of them will. Another way you can get a fee waiver for a college application is in the 2021-2022 school year. Schools like Western Oregon University, Portland State are waiving their application fees if a senior this year took a virtual tour of their campus, an official virtual tour, and they registered for it properly and everything, and then they received a fee waiver, so you're not paying the, I think Western Oregon is a $50 application fee, and I think Portland State is more like $60 to $75 application fee, but they're waiving those. So you're not going to have to pay to apply to their school. We recommend the first thing that you do is talk to your counselor, because they actually have some fee waivers. Question that you're going to want to ask them, and this is our school counselors: do I qualify for an admissions fee waiver, and how do I get one? And be sure to ask as early as possible. So in the fall, you will hear Ms. Comer say, and if you hear us talk again, which you will, you're going to hear us say again, make sure you're asking for these early, because some of those waivers require more than one person's signature, and it takes time. And especially with COVID going on, it takes us a little longer sometimes to get as many signatures as we need. If your counselor isn't available to help you, then we can connect you with admissions counselors at the colleges that you're applying to ask them for one. And any college that you are visiting virtually or physically, any admissions counselor that you're talking to at a college, anytime you are talking about this, it never hurts to ask. The worst thing they're going to do is say no. So don't let the college application fees stop you from applying, same as don't worry about the sticker price. Don't allow these to stop you from applying to your top choice college, or to several colleges if you choose to. If you are eligible for a fee waiver, or if you are eligible for free and reduced, goodness, my mouth is not working properly tonight. If you're eligible for free and reduced lunch, or if you're receiving any kind of federal supported financial aid. And then remember, colleges use different waiver systems, and you may have to do some investigating, and we can help you with that. That's what Ms. Welsh and I do, is we're here to help you work through these things, or at least find the person that can answer your question if we don't know the answer off the top of our head. So in summary, I think we've said this several times, college in some form is not out of reach for anyone who wants it. There are many sources of aid, even beyond what we have covered here. We can explore more with you if you want more information than we provided you. And as you take your next steps in the educational journey, we are here to help. If we don't immediately know the answer, again, we have wonderful, wonderful partners that we can reach out to and find it out immediately. So, questions. I'm hoping that generated some questions. Either you are welcome to unmute and ask your questions, or if you would like to ask them in the chat, we're happy to answer them through there as well.
I have a question about your guys' So if you're on that already, do you just automatically get it or do you have to fill something out separately?
If you're on, the free and reduced meal plan,
Yeah.
you need to talk to the counselor because the fee waivers are separate from that, but that automatically qualifies you for the fee waivers.
And so, Alex, you should know, like when we're talking about colleges you want to apply to this year, and setting that list up, if schools are charging a $50 application fee and you say, you know what, I think there might be 10 that I want to apply to, or even 7, that adds up big time.
Yeah.
And so getting that fee waiver in place, you're going to want to do that. Contact your counselor. And Alex, I think this is a good year for you to do that.
Okay.
Instead of waiting till next year, I think this year is a good year for you to get on that program, and get that in place so that come the fall, when you're starting to really look at those applications, you're getting those waivers. Okay.
Okay, I can do that.
So I'm curious about parents. I can see Amelia. I'm assuming that you are a parent. Am I correct? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, I'm a parent. I have 3 kids in AVID. Technically
Okay.
4.
Which kids do you have?
I have the twins, the Patterson twins.
Oh, okay, Amelia, I've never actually seen you before. I'm Miss Comer. I'm their teacher, and they are rock stars in my class. I'm so happy that you are here this evening.
Yeah, I go by Amy, but everything. Yeah, they're excited, but they're very scared because this is really out of our reach. So they're going to need a lot of help.
And I hope that they have also explained to you, Amy, that we are spending time in class going through this process, and we will actually be doing next year in the fall, we will be doing a workshop with you and your kids on filling in the FAFSA. So I don't want you to feel like tonight's presentation was the one and done, because it is not. The main thing that I think that Teresa and Maddie hope that you take away from this, though, Amy, is that no college is definitely out of reach for your boys. They're strong students, they're hard workers, and they need to apply to the schools that they really believe will be good fits for them, and not being worried about the money. Let that take care of itself later.
Okay, I think that they're really going to need assistance from the counselors, I guess, or from you. They just don't know what college to choose from for what they want to do.
Right. And so we're spending time right now doing that. That's part of the junior curriculum, Amy, is that we are going to, by the end of this year, they will have a list of at least 10 colleges that they're interested in applying for.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I just have a question about the fee waivers again. So, if you qualify for one, whether you're on free and reduced lunch or not, does that only apply when you apply to one school, or can you use it on all schools you apply to?
Great question, Alex. So there is a list of schools that will accept the fee waivers that go with the SATs and the ACT waivers. They just immediately, if you qualify for one of those, it's gonna immediately just go to those schools that you're qualified for that waiver. There are other schools that will also do waivers, but they may have a slightly different process. As you develop your list and we start narrowing your list, we will help you explore that. So first, we start with the counselor and figuring out if you qualify for any kind of a waiver. And once we know yes or no, then we can go from there.
Okay.
And Alex and Sophia, you should know that Miss Langoliers is going to be joining us next Friday in class. She's going to be talking about some real specifics of looking at websites to understand application deadlines, scholarships, school scholarship deadlines, that type of thing. So it's going to be an opportunity for you to ask her questions directly as well.
So if there's different like grants and like financial aid and waivers and all these ways that you're not going to pay for as much of college, are you able to like stack them on each other, or like is it like one goes to each school?
Do you guys want to take that, or Maddie, do you want to answer that?
So that's a really good question. Yes, aids, different types of financial aid are definitely stackable. Sometimes there are some stipulations that you kind of have to read in the fine line. So there might be scholarships that say you can only have, this one scholarship, or there might be grants that you're not able to stack. Most of the time, yes, you are able to accept multiple offers. And if there are some offers that you're confused about, like I said earlier, just ask us, and we can help kind of read that fine print to see if there are some exceptions to that. But we can definitely help you with that. And I did see a question in the chat that said, as the FAFSA has some elements of first come, first serve, what if you can't apply quickly, or when is it a good time to prepare for such? So if you don't apply right away, it's not the end of the world. They are open, I think, through June is when FAFSA. I'm not quite sure when it closes, but it's a really long period that it's open. And so if you apply at the end of it, you're not going to be missing out on every single type of opportunity. But it's likely that you will qualify for more if you apply quickly at the beginning. Sorry, go ahead.
You should also know that part of the AVID curriculum in the fall, you will be invited to workshops to actually complete the FAFSA and ORSA. That is part of the AVID class and the kind of one of the perks for being in the class. So, so you won't be left alone. I want to clarify that. This presentation is for AVID families only. And you will not be left alone to navigate this process. This is part of AVID, okay?
Hello. I was wondering if there is anything for like studying abroad, like studying out of the United States.
Yeah. So were you thinking of attending a college within the United States and then spending like a semester overseas, or spending your entire college experience outside of the United States?
So, I'm still thinking about that, but like maybe like the first year or two in the United States, and then the rest of it outside.
Okay. So I guess our broad answer is going to be yes. There are different types of financial aid opportunities for all of those things. If it's the first one that I mentioned, where let's say you're going to Oregon State and you spend a semester abroad, there are going to be scholarships specifically for students studying abroad. But if you're wanting to full on attend a college outside of the United States, kind of like you potentially mentioned, there are scholarship and grant opportunities for that as well. The hard part is just finding them. And so, you can Google these things. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's my daughter was looking at a school in England, for example, and obviously any federal financial aid that the US government gives that doesn't transfer to a school overseas. But what she did find out is that the schools themselves often offer packages to entice international students to attend their schools. So again, you start with the college and then you have to Google like crazy to find out if there are any scholarships or grants available to students who want to travel overseas or study overseas.
Thank you. I'm a ninth grader, so I got time to do my research. Thank you.
You do. And I do know schools like Lewis and Clark offer you a special financial aid package for your study abroad year, where you are paying the tuition, the same tuition that you would pay at Lewis and Clark to that school. So essentially it's Lewis and Clark aid that Lewis and Clark is just forwarding to them. And I know students that have done that in Italy, France. I'm trying to remember all the names. Many of my son's friends went to Lewis and Clark, and they were telling me that, yeah, they still got their same financial package. They still paid their tuition to Lewis and Clark, and Lewis and Clark handled the tuition that the other school charged, and they would be gone for a semester or a year at a time.
What about the students that like want to start like maybe like their first year or two in community college and then want to go to like a 4-year college for the other 2 years? If that makes sense. Like, does your financial aid stuff follow you, even though it's like a different level?
So you reapply. The FAFSA has to be renewed every single year. And community college, went to a community college, and then I went to a 4-year school. It was the same FAFSA form, no matter which school I went to. The aid varies from school to school. So community colleges tend to be a little cheaper. So the aid package that I was offered by my community college was smaller than the one that I was offered at my university. Even if you're at the same school for all 4 years, the financial aid offer that you get as a freshman in college will not be the same as the financial aid offer you get as your sophomore year, your junior year, or your senior year, because they recognize as you're getting higher in your grade levels in college that your workload gets increasingly heavier as well. So they will offer you more aid so that you are not having to spend as much time working and supporting yourself. So look at those carefully, but also be very mindful that some of that increased financial offer could be loans. So we need, I think, Ms. Comer, at some point next year, we need to have a conversation about student loans too. So
Definitely.
But you know, Alex, that beautiful Oregon promise is something that you can apply to those first 2 years of community college. And then oftentimes it is actually easier to transfer into, if you've been successful at a community college, it is easier to transfer into a 4-year and complete your degree at a 4-year college, so, or university. So your line of thinking, Alex, there is spot on. That's a good line of thought.
So I am not advocating for any of you to do what I'm about to say. I will just tell you about my experience. I graduated high school with a 2.17 GPA. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I was the AP calculus teacher for many, many years. So yes, I'm smarter than I sound and look sometimes. Because my GPA was that, it would have been really, really, really difficult for me to get into a 4-year school. But community college accepted me. They will accept anybody, no matter what your GPA was when you graduated from high school. Community college, I had an opportunity to start all over with my GPA, and I brought that GPA up to when I did apply to the universities. They offered me scholarships without me even having to apply for them because of my GPA and because I was a transfer student.
So with the Oregon Promise, are you able to like use Oregon Promise for your first 2 years of community college, and then for your 4-year college, does that also have to be in Oregon, or can you go out of state?
You can go wherever you like, sweetie. The Oregon Promise only applies to the community colleges in Oregon.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Sorry for all the questions.
Alex, please don't apologize. This is exactly why this presentation was put together, is to answer these questions. And just know that if you avail yourself of 2 years of community college paid for, you remember Vanessa Diaz? That was our peer tutor?
Yeah.
Okay, so Vanessa went to, is actually going through PCC to do her nursing program. She is now doing an internship. They actually call it an externship with the pediatric hospital outside of Bridgeport, you know, where the shopping center is, kind of in that area. Yeah, she doesn't know a dime.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and she will be able to continue on with her studies. And again, because she's doing so well, Schools will offer her a financial package, there's no doubt. And
No.
she will probably graduate with her nursing credentials almost debt-free.
That's crazy.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So these opportunities are out there. But again, like, it doesn't mean that you're condemned to go the community college route if that's not what you want. If you want to start at the four-year college, if you want to start at the private four-year college, you throw your hat in there. Those are the reach schools that we've talked about. Throw your hat in, because if you are an attractive candidate to the school for whatever reason, they're going to offer you money to attend. And it's at that point that you'll be able to say, you know, when they said, we want you, and this is the money, the package that we're going to offer you, that you'll be able to truly know, is this something, is it worth me going into debt, paying $20,000 a year, let's say, for Columbia University in New York City? Is it worth that? Or should I be paying $14,000 a year to attend U of O? I mean, you will be able to then compare your oranges and your oranges, your apples and your apples. So that's why nothing should be off the table at this point for any of you.
Yeah, that makes more sense. My thing is, I have a lot of like different types of schools that I really want to go to, but then again, the application price is going to get really high the more schools I apply to. But like, what if like you apply and you pick one and they don't accept you?
It happens. I mean, it definitely happened to me. I had my reach schools that I thought that those were the right places for me, and I wasn't accepted. But then, you know, there's a hardship too. The school that you do want to go to, you apply to, you get accepted, and you realize you can't afford to go. And that's hard as well. But that's part of this process, and that's part of the journey. And you know, Sophia and Alex, that as we are looking through this, there's 3 categories of schools. They're the safe schools. Those are the schools like the community colleges and the schools that we know our GPA fits into. Those are the ones that we feel really confident will be accepted to. There are those reach schools. Those are the dream ones where you have done your research and you say, that's the exact school for me. I just don't know if I'm going to get accepted. You throw your hat into that. And then there's those ones in the middle. We call those the fit schools, where you feel like, you know what, my GPA falls into that range of where most freshmen fall, my academics, the rigor that I've had, and it definitely meets my interest. Those are the fit schools. So you've got 3 types of schools that you're going to be applying to, and you just put it out there and you see what comes through, okay?
Okay, I can do that.
Sophia, did you have any questions? I know, because you're a junior. Is your head spinning a little bit?
Honestly, yeah, because right now I'm like doing a little bit more research on the schools I want to go, especially since we did that college research project. So I'm still kind of in that process on what schools I really would want to go.
And just know, Sophia, that's our job this year. That's our task this year. We're going to start 4th quarter with essay writing, but for the rest of this quarter, you're going to be building that list and just looking into those things. Yeah. I want you to look at this as a delicious journey, because you've worked hard and you've prepared yourself, and this is where you get to do the choice. This is, you know, you're a wonderful student, Sophia. You too, Alex. And I know the students that are Mata, and I'm looking at Lexa here. I'm not sure if Aaron was a student or not, but you're building yourself up. You're building this this profile of who you are and what you want and where you want to be. I'm just really, really proud of you girls. Okay. And I want you to keep going on with this, and don't dread it, and don't stress out about it. Yeah. Oh, Aaron is Austin's dad. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah. So So yeah, this is the year. This is your junior year. This is what we'll be doing. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And Alex, your comment is exactly right. Choosing the perfect fit is hard. It is. And amazingly enough, sometimes you'll find that something that you think isn't necessarily your perfect fit is the one. So that's why you guys are taking this journey and why we are enjoying watching you in the process and why we're here to support you is because we want to make sure that you keep all of your options open until you have to make a choice. So we will talk about virtual tour, college visits, actual college visits. If we can figure out how to make those work next year, we will be here to help Miss Comer and to help you guys and everyone else just narrow it down until you go, oh, I didn't think this was a school that I want. And hey, it is my perfect fit. It is me.
Yeah, it's just hard because there's like so many variables that go into it. Like, do I want to be close to my family? Do I want to pay this much? Do I like this campus? There's so many different things that go into it. And like that's why I think that our college research project was really effective because like we picked a school that was like, okay, like this seems pretty cool. And then we got nitpicky about every little tiny thing. It just made sure we knew every little tiny thing to see if it would be a good fit for us. And like
and you know, Alex, I won't ask you to do another one like that because now you know where to find the information. And what we're going to do on Friday with Miss Langoliers narrows that further, okay?
sounds good. It's just hard. It's like
No, it's not hard. It's exciting.
well, yes, it's exciting, but it's hard because like for a lot of people, like if it was up to me, there, I don't know what it's called, but there's this school in Malibu that's like an Ivy League school, I think, and it is gorgeous, and such a great school. But there's no way. There's even with grants and all that, there's no way I could pay for it.
Well, it just might be one of those reach schools, Alex, and you have to look at it's you fitting in and it fitting you. And you just, you know, if it's the right combination, what's lost? If you've got a fee waiver, it's not even going to cost you to apply, okay?
That's true.
Yeah.
We have to do college visits next year.
I know, I miss them.
Me too. I miss the college field trips.
We need some kind of trip before we graduate.
Oh, I agree, totally.
Yeah. And a Comer backyard barbecue with all of our
Without a doubt, we need to have a play day. Play day on the farm.
I agree.
Are there any questions for the good of the order? We have come to the end of our hour together. Amy, did you have any lingering questions out there?
No, I mean, I know what the boys want, so you guys gave me a good list. I'm a parent that went to Mount Hood for 2 years and then went to U of O, so
Good deal.
it's very I ended up with that after 4 years with just like $1,000 bill. That's it. So they are out there.
Good. I'm glad they've got you because that's a big deal. Alexa, how about you? Any last questions for the good of the order?
As of right now, I have no questions, but later, if I do, I will probably contact Miss Roth or someone else.
Excellent. Yep. And know that Miss Welch and Miss Swake are there for you at the Career Center. It's so cool in the new building, Alexa. You're going to love it.
I know I will. I'm very excited.
Woo woo.
We need to go back to the building. There's way too many teachers.
AVID should do this. It should be like an AVID only event. Just saying.
I just got back from the building because I had practice.
There's way too many teachers that I'm missing way too much right now. We need to be back in the building.
Yeah, for sure.
Soon, my lovelies.
Like 45 minutes is great. Not enough, especially when you can only see one teacher at a time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
You too.
Thank you, you guys.
Yeah, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.